This is moderator. Welcome, committee member Jet. Would you like to do a quick mic check?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you.
Oh,
Wonderful.
all right, thank you.
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 10 a.m. We'll give everybody about another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll begin the meeting. Okay, we'll go ahead and get the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau Advisory Committee meeting started. It's 10 a.m. on October 11th, 2022. I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Gina Cheverini Sanchez. I am the Bureau Chief. Before we begin, I'd like to thank all of you who are participating in this hybrid meeting, where our public location is here at headquarters in Sacramento. And we also have several of us participating virtually through WebEx. I want to extend my appreciation for everybody's patience in advance as we continue to mediate the ebbs and flows of hybrid meetings and technology. So anyone interested in participating in the meeting and making public comment that is participating virtually via WebEx must have mic ability through their computer. However, if they do not, there is a phone call option in order to make public comment. The link to join the WebEx event or the call-in information is available on the agenda, which you can find on CSB's advisory committee page. That is a link on the right-hand side of our homepage under quick links. Our homepage, of course, csb.ca.gov. All lines are currently on mute. As the meeting progresses through the agenda, the lines will remain on mute until I ask for public comment. The public comment period is available after each item is presented and discussed by committee members. So if you have a comment during the comment period, type the word comment into the chat box. The moderator will let you know that you can unmute yourself, and public comment is allotted to 5 minutes and multiple comments are allowed. As a reminder to our members joining us today, once each agenda item is presented, I'll ask for discussion. If you have any comments, question, or discussion, please there we go. Please press the small hand icon on your screen, and the moderator will let you know to unmute your line. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting and to ensure the Bureau can complete its necessary business. So again, I appreciate everyone's understanding and patience as we navigate the meeting format. So what is necessary for documentation in the meeting minutes? I do need to call roll for our committee members. So currently I see Jacob Jett. If you could unmute your line and just say hello. Thank you.
Good morning.
Jolene Grande.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. And Jean Okui.
Hello.
I also see Ms. Maggie McMillan is on the line. You are muted. Maggie, if you could unmute. There we go. And say hello. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so everybody is on and can be heard. I do not think I missed anyone else. If additional members join, I will introduce them as they come on. Okay, thank you. So I just want to extend my gratitude to our committee members. I know you're all very busy, and the Bureau sincerely appreciates the time that you dedicate to the industry, to the consumers, and to this committee. The meeting is being recorded and will be reposted to YouTube so it can be watched at a later date. So I'll be moving on to public comments for items that are not on the agenda. That is agenda item 2. At this time, I'd like to take public comments for items not on the agenda. If there is anybody in the audience who would like to make any public comments about issues that are not on our agenda, you may do so at this time. Please type the word comment into the chat box so your moderator may let you know to unmute your line. Please state your name and the name of your organization or association you represent, if applicable, and keep comments to 5 minutes per individual. Also, neither committee members nor Bureau staff may comment on what is being said during the public comment period as stated in the agenda for this meeting. So we can turn it over to the moderator to open it up for public comment, please.
Thank you. This is moderator, and I've opened up the question and answer panel. If anyone would like to make a comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and submit it to all panelists, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no request for comment at this time, but we were just joined by committee member Maria Mangini. So Maria, if you'd like to do a quick mic check.
If I unmute myself, do you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
we do.
Am I late?
No, technically it is 10:06. I have only welcomed everybody and done public comment for items not on
Okay.
the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
This
I'm
is-
glad you can make it. Thank you for coming. Good to see
this
you.
is a-
Yes, your camera is working also. Good to see you.
And this is a moderator. I see no request for public comments, so shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
Okay, we're great. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 2. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our department liaison from the Executive Office of the Department of Consumer Affairs. Judy Bucciarelli. I hope I didn't say your name wrong, considering mine's Cheverini.
That's right, Bucciarelli. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Judy Bucciarelli with DCA's Executive Office. And I want to thank you today for allowing me an opportunity to provide the Department of Consumer Affairs update today. We'll start off with new DCA staff. We are excited to announce that the governor recently appointed a new Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, Melissa Geer. Melissa joined the department on October 3rd and brings a wealth of experience. She has previously served as the Chief Deputy Legislative Director at the Department of Insurance since 2014. She has also served at the California State Teachers Retirement System, California Attorney General's Office, and the Legislative Analyst's Office. And we'll move on to DCA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee. Director Kimberly Kirchmeyer has established the department's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee to guide the department in its equity strategy, initiatives, and action plans. The DEI committee will hold its official kickoff meeting on November 9th of this year. Strategic planning. In accordance with Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order, strategic plans in effect July 2023 and beyond must be developed or updated to more efficiently advance equity and drive outcomes that increase opportunity for all. In response, DCA is revising its strategic planning processes to incorporate more inclusive public engagement, data analysis, and embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into the strategic planning process. Over the coming months, the DEI committee will inform the strategic planning processes. By March of 2023, DCA will begin implementing the revised processes and work with the boards and bureaus in updating existing strategic plans or developing new strategic plans. And then I want to talk a little bit about in-person meeting guidelines and COVID-19 safety measures. Through legislation, I apologize, though legislation has passed allowing remote meetings through June 30th, 2023, we are reminding boards and bureaus that choose to hold in-person meetings of the safety measures, best practices, and recommendations for holding public meetings. When planning for upcoming meetings, please remember the following. All board, bureau members, and staff are expected to follow the state and local public health guidelines that apply in the area where meetings are being held. Face coverings are strongly recommended for all board members and staff at meetings. The California Department of Public Health strongly recommends that individuals continue to mask in indoor settings. And please post face covering guidance signage at your meeting check-in or entrance. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the partnership with the State Controller's Office. DCA will partner with the State Controller's Office to share information with consumers and certain licensees about unclaimed property program. State law requires banks, insurance companies, corporations, and other entities to report and submit their customers' property to the SCO after a period of inactivity, generally 3 years. Certain DCA licensees will benefit from this partnership as it will educate them about their responsibility to report unclaimed property and assist with compliance. Additionally, the program is a great resource for all consumers to locate their unclaimed property. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about DCA Workforce and Succession Plan. DCA takes a proactive and strategic approach to the recruitment and training of its skilled and diverse workforce. To achieve this approach, DCA is updating its annual Workforce and Succession Plan. As part of this process, DCA requested that board and bureau leaders complete a workforce survey. Responses will be used with other information about DCA's workforce to inform decisions that align and support DCA's new strategic plan. Further, this process facilitates meeting CalHR's requirement that all state organizations with civil service employees maintain current workforce and succession plans. As always, DCA is here to help, and if there is anything we can do to assist, please reach out to Deputy Director Melissa Gear, Board and Bureau Relations. And that concludes my information.
Judy, thank you very much for bringing all of that to our meeting today. I must say I'm looking forward to developing our strategic plan. It does expire at the end of 2023, so this is good timing for the March implementation of the new strategic plan processing, as we will be going through that next year. I'll be talking more about that at our next meeting. So, yes, can you hear me? Can everybody else hear me?
This is the moderator. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, Judy, thank you very much. I'd like to ask the committee members if there is any comment or discussion on the update. Just raise your hand and we will inform you to unmute your line.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Is that you, Judy? We can still hear you. It looks like we're having a little technical difficulty with Judy, but I don't see any questions from the committee. We can open it up to public comment. If there is any public comment on this item, please type the word comment into the chat box and the moderator will inform you to unmute your line.
Thank you very much. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or simply raise your hands and we will give you a moment to access these features. All right, I see no request for comment at this time, so I'll go ahead and close the Q&A panel.
Okay, so we are moving on to agenda item number 4.
Hello.
Update on Bureau activities. Can we help Judy by maybe muting her line? Oh, I think we
This is the moderator.
Okay.
Yes, I muted her attendee, so her line is muted.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate her update. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 4, update on Bureau activities. I'll provide an update on all items A through E and then ask for discussion from the from the committee or then from the public. So first, starting off with staffing. Since our last meeting, we have had some promotions and some retirements at the Bureau. Cheryl Jenkins was the manager over program operations and has been promoted to the Board of Pharmacy, and we are currently undergoing recruitment for that manager position. Also, Richard Hernandez, who was an analyst with the Bureau for many years, is now retired and enjoying that retirement life. We have since filled that position with Stephanie Garcia, who has vast experience in administration and support services. We have also filled one vacant auditor position recently, and she is currently in training on our mandated reporting requirements. Finally, we are at the tail end of recruitment for an enforcement analyst and 2 more associate auditor positions. So we are pretty consistently in a time of recruitment at the Bureau, but although some have moved on to greater things like retirement, we are bringing in a great group and continuing that high expectation and level of customer service here at the Bureau. So moving on to budget, as part of the update for budget, we had the fund condition brought in a little bit at a later date, so it's not posted on the website, but will be shortly. If we can move on to the fund condition slide. It's the insert one we had to do that was a PDF because it was so small. So while we get there, yes, here we are. So we can scroll, we'll see this is our fund condition. There it's in 4 columns. I'll kind of go a little slow as this is not something as a Bureau we're used to seeing very often, but it is a standing item now as an agenda topic. So the very first column is our actuals for the fiscal year 21-22. It moves on to the current year as of October 10th of 22-23, and then moving on to budget year and budget year +1, which is the 2 next years. If we can scroll down just a little bit so I can see, or can everybody see the whole, and a little bit more. So just scroll a little bit more. Okay, that is a good place to start. You'll see right here in the middle, it says total revenues, transfers, and other adjustments. That shows revenues. And then down below, it says total expenditures and expenditure adjustments. So we're going to start with fiscal year 21-22 had a net expenditure of approximately $5.2 million. You'll see that right under that first line of expenditures. And we collected close to $4.5 million, which is that number 4494 right above it. So with an additional $600,000 in direct costs like supplement or pension, statewide pro rata, which you see those numbers under expenditure, 21193 and 298. Can you get that to Gino, please, so she can see that what we're looking at. The Bureau ended up with a fund balance, you'll see at the very bottom, of $3.5 million. So as a result of recent legislation, SB 1443, a fee increase was established, and the Bureau will see an increase in revenue effective January 1st, 2023. So that's the very next column, which you see our revenues then increase to 5.1. Our expenditures are also increasing to 6.3. So we're still a little bit of a structural deficit, but that is because the first year that the fees come in is only 6 months of that fiscal year, coming in January. Fiscal year ends June 30th. So the following fiscal year in 23-24, we will see our full fee raised to our revenue, which is an increase of about $2.5 million, which now we are more at a balanced budget. So this fee defines in this bill will address the Bureau's annual deficit as well as sustain operations for at least the next 5 years. So one of the main factors that drive our expenditures, our bills, is the increase in future years is personnel adjustments, like the general salary increase, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. This also does not account for expenditures in enforcement and state pro rata costs that are expected to increase. The budget office does include an ongoing 3% increase to expenditures to account for ongoing incremental adjustments. So so that is the fund condition. That's all my scheduled talking points on those. I can open it up to committee discussion. Any questions on our fund or budget or anything of in this area? Go ahead and raise your hands or. Okay. Then I would like to open it up to the public. Oh.
I see Committee Member Grande has her hand raised.
Oh, great. Yes, I didn't see that. Yes, Jolena.
Thank you. I was just wondering, as I'm looking at the months in reserve, even factoring in the increases in the fees for licensing, it still looks like we're on a downward trajectory in terms of spending out our reserves. Is that going to correct at any time and begin to stabilize at like maybe 2.5 or real close to 3? What is it that we're anticipating in budget year, maybe +2 or +3?
That is a great question, Jolene. I appreciate that. What this fund condition doesn't show is any carryover of my budget not spent each year. So when you do a fund condition, it does have the expectation that you fully expend your entire budget. However, historically, the Bureau has been able to roll over anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000, which is what has sustained us previously. So with a fully expended budget, yes, we will still see this downward trajectory, which our fund condition then would suggest we would go for another fee increase maybe around 2025, 2026 through 2027, 28 or so. But if we continue to see savings, like we've always been a very frugal board, then we will see that months in reserve kind of even out and push us out even further. An ideal place for the Bureau would be between 3 to 6 months, as we don't see the major litigation or enforcement costs that the larger boards may see potentially. So historically, 3 to 6 has been a pretty safe place, and I think we will see that with some rollover. I hope that answered the question. And if not, then we will have to work with budgets in the department and the legislature and the industry again to reassess. It's a very long process. So I'm hoping this fee increase and our history of spending will keep us kind of a healthy reserve for a while.
Thank you so much, Gina.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comments. Anyone in the public that would like to make a comment, please type comment into the box and the moderator will instruct you to unmute your line.
And thank you very much. The question and answer panel is now available. People may use that or simply raise their hand. And we do have instructions showing as well. We'll give you a moment.
While we wait, I did say I was going to go through all the Bureau updates, but that is okay. We can do public comment again at the end. So don't feel like this will be our only one.
All right. Well, I see no requests for comment at this time, so I'll go ahead and close the Q&A panel.
Thank you. For the next topic from business modernization, I'll turn it over to Sandra Patterson, our Deputy Bureau Chief.
Thank you, Gina. Welcome, everybody, and thank you. Business modernization, or BizMod, is an initiative to identify and implement business and technology improvements to the Bureau's antiquated information technology system, moving the Bureau and its stakeholders to a platform that allows for faster processing times and electronic payments. We've already released a fully online application for the Cemetery salesperson's license, which is our largest applicant population, and an online system, excuse me, for license renewals through simply.gov. In collaboration with the Department of Technology and the Department of Consumer Affairs, the Bureau has begun development of its new IT platform, CFB Connect, to improve access and processing of applications, renewals, and mandated licensee reports. This modernization effort will allow staff to easily access statistical data and increase accessibility, accuracy, and productivity. I'd like to welcome Lisa Rangel with the DCA's Office of Information Services Project Management Office to provide additional information. Lisa is the project director for the second cohort of the Business Modernization Initiative. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Sandy. First of all, I'd like to thank the advisory committee, Gina and Sandy, for inviting me to provide the update for the Bureau's progress on the Business Modernization Initiative. As Sandra mentioned, my name is Lisa Rangel with the Office of Information Services. I'm the project director for the second cohort of the Department's Business Modernization Initiative. For today, I'd like to go over a brief overview of the Business Modernization Initiative, the 4 stages of the CDT's project approval lifecycle, current project overview to date, high-level system functionality, and final comments. The Bureau is one of 17 programs currently undergoing the Business Modernization Initiative and one of 5 in Cohort 2. Each program undergoes extensive business process mapping and functional requirements gathering with the assistance of the Department's Organizational Improvement Office. Then, with the assistance of the Office of Information Services, proceeds through the California Department of Technology's project approval lifecycle, and finally, system implementation. I would like to emphasize that the Business Modernization Initiative is highly business-driven. While the Organizational Improvement Office and the Office of Information Services play a role in the Business Modernization Initiative, the Bureau staff have been instrumental in the level of effort and quality provided in the overall progress thus far. It is truly the critical key to the success of the overall project. Upon completion of those business activities, we enter the California Department of Technology's project approval lifecycle. The project approval lifecycle is divided into 4 key planning stages. Each stage is separated by gates of approval provided by oversight by the California Department of Technology. The Bureau has completed all 4 key planning milestones, which consist of Stage 1, business activities and identifying business needs, objectives, and goals for the Business Modernization Initiative. Stage 2, conducted alternative analysis, where we reviewed extensive market research by participating in several system demonstrations to see the available options for software solutions that might meet the Bureau's needs, as well as conducting cost-benefit analysis and cost estimates for each platform, which we viewed the demonstrations for. It is important to note that in this stage, the Bureau made the decision to formally form and join as Cohort 2 in conjunction with 4 other programs. After completion of Stage 2, the Bureau entered into Stage 3, where we developed a significant amount of procurement documentation and working in partnership with the California Department of Technology's State Technology Procurement Division. Upon approval of Stage 3, solicitation was released to the vendor community for potential bids of system implementation services. Upon Stage 3 approval, we entered into the 4th and final stage, which consists of project readiness and approval, where the Bureau participated in solicitation responses evaluation, as well as the negotiations with the highest scored bidders. Upon approval of Stage 4, we were able to provide a contract award and entered our project phase. The project is tentatively scheduled for an 18-month project and began in May of this year. We are taking an agile, iterative approach where we will release the functionality to the public in phases. Our first targeted release is December of this year. Then about every 3 to 4 months thereafter, with a project target closeout of fall 2023. I'd like to provide, as Sandra mentioned, some high-level functionality that we can expect as a result of this project conclusion. It's a cloud-based solution, and we branded it as DCA Connect, and it is the same software solution utilized and highly successful project completion with the Cohort 1. We'll have the ability to create online registrations, application, renewal submittal, and online complaints, credit card payments, email and text notifications for several application and licensing milestones, such as license approval, application and renewal deficiencies, remediation of those deficiencies online, and the notifications for timelines for renewal, in addition to real-time application status. I'd like to close with noting that there's a lot of work to be done to make this project a success. Throughout the project, we anticipate 100% resource allocation in order to meet project milestones and keep positive momentum. With that being said, the level of commitment received from the Bureau staff thus far has been outstanding, and I would again like to thank Gina and Sandra for the continued support of the Business Modernization Initiative. I look forward to keeping positive momentum moving forward throughout the project. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Lisa. The Biz Mod project or Business Modernization project is definitely something when I walked in February, you know, I was very focused on getting CFB electronic as possible, getting consumers an easy way to access us, in addition to informing licensees where they're at in the process of Bureau business. So I'm really excited to announce that the funeral director application will be our very next one, and expecting to see that hopefully, you know, like Lisa said, by the end of this year, beginning of next year. So that is our next biggest application type. But, you know, I think what excites me the most about it is that letter in the mail kind of thing that the state service does, that the Bureau has always done. You send us an application, we're missing something, we put something in the mail to you. By the time you check your mail, get it back to us, we check our mail, assign it, attach it, you know, that kind of stuff is what really puts days on performance measures, on processing times. And money, mail money, back and forth, back and forth. Stamps are not getting cheaper. So it's great to have that option to email you, let you know, hey, check your Amazon account. You have a letter from the Bureau. Okay, it's not Amazon, but check your Connect account. You have an email from the Bureau. You know, you need to do something on an application or an inspection. So we're very excited to get up with the times in that area and see what that does to our performance measures, as we'll look at in the licensing update. So is there any comment from our committee members on business modernization?
Great.
I have an it's great over here by Gino Kui. I appreciate that. I know we all are now conditioned to expect technology and being able to look for things online. That's something that we're expecting as the public now. I don't see any other hands. I don't know if I can see the hands even. Trish, if you see no other hands, we can move on to public comment. Is there any public? Oh, I wasn't going to do public comment in between. That takes too long. Okay, we're moving on to the audit unit update. And very good. And we will transfer that over to Mona Matthews, who is an associate auditor here with the audit unit. So you can open up that initial slide. She'll make a few initial comments, and then she'll move into her slides. So those are the pie chart slides. Go ahead, Mona. Is your speaker on? Hey, Mona.
Okay. Thank you, Gina. Good morning, everyone. First, just some general information, as was mentioned, regarding the audit unit's email address. We have our own email address now, which is auditcfb, just like it sounds, AUDIT CFB @dca.ca.gov. It can be used by licensees, consumers, industry associations, and the general public. It can also be used by cemeteries wishing to submit unit trust applications online. Next item, regarding a sheetman, as was mentioned earlier, the requirement for funeral establishments to transfer pre-need funeral trust funds to the state as unclaimed property becomes effective January 1, 2023. Now, the new statutes require certain activities to be conducted if a funeral establishment closes, is canceled, or has its license revoked. So the Bureau was granted, and we're in the process of hiring 2 full-time permanent auditors to monitor and oversee this process. Let's see, next, regarding endowment care rates for cemeteries, a letter was sent in December 2021 to each licensed cemetery informing them of the new endowment care rates effective for 2022. And we included excerpts of the statute for informational purposes. So that's it for general items. Regarding reporting, you can see, we'll start on the pie charts. The first item we'll talk about is annual and quarterly reporting results for cemeteries and funeral establishments. So first of all is the COA annual. COA stands for cemeteries. It's probably most of you know. So you can tell from the pie chart on display, this just splits the reporting up into a timeline, those that are on time, and we assess every 30 days. Pretty self-explanatory. Only 1%, 90 days late, so that's pretty good. Moving on to FD reporting, you can see over half were on time for annual reports, 55%, and then it moves down into 30, 60, and 90 days. The not reporting piece of the pie chart there looks pretty big. That often is attributed to establishments not knowing that there are certain reports, excuse me, that they need to submit. A declaration of non-reporting status is what they submit. They don't hold their own funds, so that can just be an oversight sometimes. Moving on to quarterly reports. So we have cemetery quarterly reports for internment. Let me go back for a moment. In terms of annual reporting, pardon me. Cemetery annual reports are due June 1st or 5 months after the year end, unless fiscal year has been approved for reporting. Funeral establishment annual reports are due on May 1st. So, okay, moving back over to quarterlies again. So you can see here, we have a good on-time percentage for all of these. This is a fiscal year set of reporting charts. So third quarter 2021, first of 2022, and second of 2022. Pretty good numbers there and self-explanatory, I think. For crematories, but let me go back. The next chart, if you could move to the next slide, total quarterly reporting statistics for COAs. Just summarizes the fiscal year for us so you can see it all together. Okay, next group of slides, CR 2021, CRs for crematories. Pretty good numbers here as well, doing it through the fiscal year by quarter. And if you can go to the next one, we can look at the totals for crematories for the entire fiscal year. Jan, oh, go back. Yeah, so good percentage there as well. Quarterly reports include the fees, so we're happy to get those on time, obviously. And lastly, regarding hydrolysis facilities, the Bureau has one licensed hydrolysis facility, and all the quarterly reports for the 21-22 fiscal year were received on time for hydrolysis. So that's all I've got, unless there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. I'd like to speak a little bit on the mandated reporting requirements. You'll see that we do have between the on time and the 30 days late, it brings it to, around like almost 80%. So we do send late notices, and they can get up to citations if you are not timely or don't submit at all. So that does move towards citation if that is not done timely. So that's why we track these. They are mandated by laws, by the CFB Act. So they need to be on time. That is it for our audit unit update. Moving on to our letter E for update on Bureau activities is the Consumer Guide to Cemetery and Funeral Purchases. So this has been As presented and discussed in our last meeting in May, and as part of the meeting materials, CFB has released a revision to the consumer guide. So we've kind of been talking about this since May, that it will be 2023 out there in the industry. This hasn't been revised since 2013, and with the implementation of hydrolysis, we decided to review the guide in its entirety. So the changes we made were, they were minor, mostly eliminating repetitive information, making it flow, clear, concise, more consumer relatable. So we'll be taking any comments, suggestions, suggested language at this meeting today and up through the end of October. At that time, the guide will be forwarded to the department's publishing and editing unit for the final touches. I anticipate its release in January and in use by the industry in March. So inspectors will be looking for it in use by March. So do any committee members have any comments on updating the guide at this time? Or do any committee members have comments on anything under Bureau activities A through E? I see Jolina's hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the information that was provided. If there is going to be updates to the fee structure as well as some revisions to the consumer guide, will we also see some revisions to the applications for our licenses? And are Bureau staff now entertaining any potential edits to licensing applications?
So applications, we got 3 topics here, fee structure, applications, and guide. The fee structure, we're putting together a new fee schedule right now. All of that will be, released obviously by January, because that's when it comes into effect, our new fees, January 1st. So we're looking at the applications now. So some of our applications are referenced in regulations, so any edits would require a regulatory change to the application itself. However, I do feel that as we go through BizMod, it's going to be mandatory that we really open up these applications and make sure that they are still accurate, relevant, collecting the proper information in accordance with statute, and putting reg packages through. So I do feel that we are on the verge of revising applications. It's kind of a forced hand once you go into business modernization, because each question they ask on a screen that we've asked for 30 years, you go, so why are we collecting this information, or what is this? Where do we key it? What do we do with it? What does it need? And so it's just creating, oh, this points to this statute. This is why we need this. So it really is opening up our eyes to what our applications look like. So I will take questions and edits for applications, and then as we go through BizMod, we will start updating them and sending those reg packages through. You'll start seeing them, at committee meetings also when we do the regulation packages of these forms. And then, of course, the fee schedule itself, we're working on that now, and then that takes, our IT team to change it all in the system. So, but they will be reflected on the forms as of January 1st, the new fees. The forms will change because there are some things that we made the same. For example, like the change of corporate officer. That is 2 separate forms because one charges different than the other previously from funeral to cemetery. That is now through the intent of the legislature to be the same amount. So that can now be condensed into one change of officer form, streamlined, simpler for the licensees. So things like that we'll have to change slightly as we implement the fees. And then Carolina Salmons, our amazing legislation and regulation analyst, will be busy tracking all that we've done so we can make sure and do it all above board through the regulatory process. So thank you for the question. I hope I answered it all.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much, Gina.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Jolina. Jean. Yes, Jean has a question now.
So if the public wants to comment on this,
yes.
I would like to get it out to our members in Southern California, the Funeral Consumers Alliance. and also others that might be interested mainly to get them to know that there is a booklet and there is information for the public, but also they might see something that they think should be in there. So what's the deadline?
The end of October, October 31st. I don't know. Yeah, not much time. That's 2 full weeks, 2.5 weeks about. So if you need a few more days, if anyone needs a few more days or whatever it is, that's fine. I just need to eventually put a pin in it because the department needs it for their amount of time to be able to get it out by next year.
Thank you.
So yeah, I will work with you individually if anyone is out there also. If we're running up against the deadline, you need a few more days, please just reach out. Okay, so any other committee member comments? I don't see any hands, so we'll move it to public comment. We'll open it up for public comment for agenda item 4A through E. If you have any comments, please just type comment into the box and the moderator will instruct you to unmute your line.
Thank you very much. The question and answer panel is now available, so you may use that to type comment and send it to all panelists, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A box?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
Okay, we are moving on to the next topic, agenda item 5, the 2022 legislation update. Carolina will be presenting on that for us.
Good morning, committee and public members. Agenda item 5, legislation update. There are 3 bills that were enacted in 2022 that impacts the Bureau. The first bill is by Assemblymember Garcia, AB 351. This bill requires the Bureau beginning January 1st, 2027 to license and regulate reduction facilities and reduction facilities managers. The bill defines reduction facilities as a location where natural organic reduction of human body occurs. This bill also requires a local register of birth or death to issue permits for the disposition of reduced human remains. The second bill is from Senator Member Newman, SB 1237. This bill impacts all boards and bureaus within the Department of Consumer Affairs. As it relates to the Bureau, it requires the Bureau to waive licenses renewal fees for active duty military members stationed outside of California. The last bill is from Senator Member Roth, SB 1443. This bill extends the Bureau's sunset date from January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2025. And it also raises the Bureau's fees. This concludes the legislation update. I will turn it over to the moderator for comments. If the advisory committee members have any comments.
I'd like to just mention SB 1443 again, as it did 2 things. It did raise the fees for Cemetery Funeral Bureau. We've kind of covered that. But what it means to extend the sunset date of the Bureau. Every 4 years, the Bureau goes through a sunset bill where we testify before the legislature on our accomplishments, on our struggles, on the industry, on whatever has been going on the past 4 years, our statistics, our performance measures, those kinds of things. And we get decided at that time whether we are going to be in operation another 4 years. So it's kind of an every 4-year check-in. So SB 1443 pushed that to 5 years, so which means our sunset is now 2025. What that means for the Bureau itself is that starting next year in 2023, we will begin writing the sunset report. Because although we sunset in 2025, the report is due to the legislature at the beginning of 2024. So we'll spend 2023 writing it, gathering 4 years of statistics. We keep them as we go, so it's not, as cumbersome as I'm saying, but, there is a lot of details that we put together in this final report and work on. It goes through many levels of review with the department. It will get exposed next year at the committee meeting, and then I'll be testifying in front of the legislature in 2024. So during that session. So I got to push off the report for a year, but then now I have to include another data in the so I don't know. It's kind of even Steven there. So any other comment from committee? I don't see any hands up. Otherwise, we'll open it up for public comment. Go ahead and type comment into the comment box if you have a comment, and the moderator will unmute your line.
Thank you so much. The question and answer panel is now available, and people may either raise their hand or type in the Q&A field that they have a comment and send it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 6, 2022 regulatory update. Again, Ms. Carolina Salmon.
Okay, moving on. The regulatory update. The first bill is from Assemblymember Cara, AB 293, pre-need funeral arrangements, unclaimed property. On September 12, 2022, the Bureau filed the regulatory package with the Office of Administrative Law, and we are currently in the 45-day comment period, which will close on November 8th. This law takes effect on January 1st, 2023. This new law establishes procedures for when and how pre-need funeral arrangements that are not claimed upon the beneficiary's death should escheat to the state under the unclaimed property law. It also requires a funeral establishment to provide notice to beneficiaries or trustors and trustees of pre-need funeral trusts with certain requirements. The last regulatory update is from Committee on Business and Professions and Economic Development Professions and Vocations, Senate Bill 800, Statutes of 2017. On August 25th, 2022, the Bureau filed the regulatory package with Office of Administrative Law. We are also on the 45-day comment period. This closes on October 25th, 2022. The new law authorizes licensed crematories within close geographical proximity of each other to request the Bureau to allow a licensed crematory manager to manage, supervise, and direct the business of professions of more than one facility. This concludes the update on regulatory packages. I'll turn it over to the moderator for comments from committee and public.
Yes, thank you, Carolina. The two regulatory packages, as she said, we're still accepting comments on. First one, AB 293. This was also something that Mona mentioned about how our auditors will be working with the funeral establishments to ensure compliance as that goes into effect in January of this year. This is a great consumer bill where those that make arrangements ahead of time in life and then maybe die in another stage, or the family is unaware of that pre-need that was paid for, this directs the funeral establishments on how to return that money either to the beneficiary or to the state controller's office. So we'll be working closely with SCO and trying to get outreach to the funeral industry to make sure they are aware and how to comply with that. And then, of course, the other one, sharing crematory managers statute already had made that allowable, so this just really implements the statute a little bit. Doesn't give a form. I think there's a form in there. Yes. Yes, so it establishes the form, which is what our regulations are for, partly. So we definitely welcome any comments as soon as possible on either of those. So committee members, is there anyone who'd like to make comment on either of those regulatory packages? Thank you. We'll move it over to public comment. Does anyone in the public like to make comment on either of these regulatory packages? Just type comment into the comment box and the moderator will instruct you to unmute your line.
Thank you so much. The Q&A panel is available, and if anyone would like to make a comment, just type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or you may raise your hand. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 7, licensing statistical report and update on exam development. We can just go right into the first slide. The statistical report is for the entire fiscal year of 2021-2022. The Bureau has established licensing performance measures or timeframes for processing complete applications. As you can see by the slide, the Bureau is meeting or beating all of our performance measures. I'm bringing both of you copies of these handouts right now, by the way. So moving on. Okay, so the next slide, sorry, had to inform Jean I was bringing her some copies of these documents. Moving on, the next slide shows specifically how the cemetery salesperson electronic application has shortened the overall processing time frame. So as I mentioned earlier, when Lisa was talking about business modernization, what that does with the mailing back and forth. So online, when you apply for a cemetery salesperson, the average time frame is 10 days. A paper application is 14 days. So it already, since initiating that application, has brought the time frame down 4 days. And we do expect that to go even shorter. Moving on to the next slide, the total number of licenses issued. Last fiscal year, the Bureau issued 1,053 new licenses or license numbers, as I know many of our industry holds multiple licenses per person. And this was an increase of almost 200 from the previous year. So next slide, regarding our renewals, about half of our licensees renew online. So total licenses renewed was about 9,463, and 46% are online. That's pretty standard until we get a cart option where multiple licenses can be paid by one person. Very similar to like DMV, you can add a few things like I want to do license renewal and vehicle registration, and then you can pay them both. So that needs to happen for us to get a higher percentage. It's been pretty consistent at about 50% renew online. So that's still a great number though, I think for us. I'm glad to see it. Renewing online, I'll say again, for those that are waiting till the last moment, renewing online gives you that immediate rollover. You know, you don't have to do that waiting for mail. And potentially, you know, if you put it in before the 31st, it's fine, but that day or two that it takes to get processed will show as not active, so, or as expired. So let's see, moving on to the next slide. This shows the passing rates for the 5 examinations that we have for licensure. These passing rates have stayed pretty static over time. There are 5 license types that require an exam for California law before getting the license, and it's funeral director, embalmer, cemetery broker, cemetery manager, and crematory manager. Can you give those copies to these 2 individuals right here? These are all the copies of all the meeting materials. I know you may not have wanted them, but there they are anyway. Okay, sorry that took so long there. Coming back here, moving on to the next slide, it goes to our most common licensing application deficiencies. They are, you know, including the live scan form or the ATI number, not having transcripts already at the Bureau by the time the analyst is performing the initial review, and then attaching mandated contractual agreements like zoning permits and letters, or separating payments for cemetery and funeral fees. These types of things slow down the processing time. They require us to send a deficiency letter in the mail, you mail it back, those kinds of things. So especially getting that live scan done and that transcripts done beforehand, that will speed up complete application processing times very, very quickly. So we can go back to the agenda now as I provide the update for examination development. So since the last advisory committee meeting in May, the Bureau has completed the exam development for the embalmer license category. The new exam was implemented and went into effect on July 1st. So we really appreciate all the embalmers who helped us in the workshops for this category. In July, the Bureau began the occupational analysis for the funeral director. Our first workshop was held in August, and the next is scheduled for the second week in November. So there is currently a survey open for all licensed funeral directors who are working or have worked in the industry in the last year. The survey began in September and will be extended until October 31st to allow for more responses. If you have not already taken this survey, we implore all licensed funeral directors to participate for the benefit of the occupational analysis for the license category. This survey is anonymous. It's available 24/7. And for login instructions or a hard copy of this survey, please contact the Bureau. You can just email CFB or give us a call. We anticipate that the exam development workshops will be taking place in January. They're held in person and via teleconference. And this means who participate are reimbursed at a daily rate of $250. So those who participate are eligible for the daily rate plus some meal reimbursement, and all travel arrangements are handled by the Bureau. So we do encourage you to participate, and we just greatly appreciate all of the licensees who have participated over the years and who are currently participating with us in examination development. It is really vital to have a defensible exam that's relevant to the industry to best help and protect our consumers to ensure our licensees meet the minimum qualifications into licensure. So do we have any committee members who wish to make a comment on this topic, on any licensing stats or exam development? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Please type comment and the moderator will instruct you to unmute your line.
Thank you very much. The question and answer panel is available. So members of the public who wish to make a comment may use the Q&A panel or simply raise their hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, agenda item 8, enforcement statistical report. The enforcement statistical report reflects the full fiscal year, again, of 2021-2022. The very first slide shows the number of completed inspections this year, totaling 1,237, which is the orange bar on the screen, and is very comparable to previous years. Next slide. Total number of complaints received this year was 1,005, with 1,000 referred for investigation and 8 yet to be reviewed assigned. So this number will never be a perfectly equal number, as there's always carryover from June 30th to July 1st on whether we have gotten them assigned that day. Some come in that very same day at 5 o'clock. So those kind of roll over to the next fiscal year. But this is an increase of previous years. We are seeing about 1,000 to 800 to 1,000 over the previous years. So that number does look to be staying. But moving on to the next slide, you'll see that of those 1,000 investigations, that only 192 were issued a fine. 8 of those fines were withdrawn, reduced, or dismissed. And that's usually from an informal office conference or additional information that was shown to the Bureau after the completion of an investigation that warranted that, or sometimes even done at a hearing by an administrative law judge. So, and from beginning of investigation to issuance of the fine is about an average of 53 days. That's pretty low because some fines happen very quickly, like through an inspection. Some fines take 6 months through an investigation. So this number is an average. So it doesn't show specifically ones from a full investigation, kind of just everybody. Moving on to the next slide. The last two slides refer to our most common violations. This first one is most common cemetery violations we find via either inspection or investigation. So failure to supervise by manager of a record, which means manager of record, which means that during an investigation, we found the establishment had violated the Cemetery and Funeral Act. 7612.6B requires the manager of record to ensure that the establishment abides by the Cemetery and Funeral Act. So those kind of go hand in hand. Their license is not posted for all to see. I don't like that word very well. Failure to perform maintenance standards for cemeteries, unlicensed practice of a cemetery salesperson or broker, or refusal or inability to inspect a CRD operation. So those have been the most common this past year, a little bit of a change from other years. Next slide, please. We'll show the most common funeral sign. Again, failure to have a designated manager of record ensure compliance of the funeral establishment. Failure to have your price ranges match from your GPL to your CPL, or sometimes those on the floor, or sometimes those on the website. You know, they're not consistent throughout the multiple places they may have their fees posted. Failure to obtain a pre-need form. So there are several forms that are required by the Bureau as you're going through your funeral contract. Failure to display your license or fully execute one of the forms, meaning there was a signature missing or the address of the storage is missing, something that is missing on the form itself. So it may be there, but it's not fully executed. So those are our most common violations for that side and our licensing and enforcement statistics. Now, we do provide much more detailed statistics in our annual report, which goes out through the Department of Consumer Affairs. That should be posted hopefully by the end of the year, which will show all the boards and bureaus' full annual statistics. You can just Google DCA annual report, and that will get you all the years of annual reports, and we're in each one of those. So that is my end of the enforcement statistics. Does any committee members have any questions or comments on enforcement statistics? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to public comment before we move on to our last agenda item.
All right, the question and answer panel is now available. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send it to all panelists. Or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comments. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Nicole, a question. I see Nicole has her hand up. Yes. Ms. Monty, okay. You can go ahead and yourself. Yes. Welcome. I'm sorry I didn't mention right when you jumped on. I got engrossed in my comments, but welcome, and we appreciate you being in the meeting. I saw you come on real early, so sorry about that.
That's okay. I just wanted to comment about the pre-need form as far as the funeral homes and cemeteries. I know with our funeral home and the crematory, sometimes we have families that actually refuse to sign that pre-need form. They may have a pre-need with the cemetery, but they do not have a pre-need with the mortuary. So maybe the past 2 weeks, I ran into a couple of families that didn't want to sign that. So how would that, affect if our inspector, that's the file that they decided to pull?
Right, and wouldn't that be the luck of us all?
Right, exactly.
That's the file that, yes, exactly. That's always how it works. That is a very good question. We cannot force the public to do anything, obviously. So I would recommend making a comment in the file that it was a refusal to sign. Okay. I think back in my private days, we called it RTS, refused to sign. But yeah, definitely making a comment, I think, would satisfy the Bureau. Okay. in that, and letting the consumer know, this is a requirement from the Bureau. I am going to notate here that you refuse to sign. That's fine, but I do need to make that notate so that I don't get a ding on the next inspection.
Right, okay, I documented it.
Yeah, documentation, right?
Yes,
yeah. That's a very good question. That's a very good question.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions? Or it's also public comment is still open, the Q&A. So is any public comment, moderator?
No public comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to our last agenda item will be the proposed dates for next year. Kind of unlike we normally do, I'm going to just go ahead and put out the dates for both May and October. So we just have it for the year on our calendar. We can put it up on the website. The public will know for the entire year. So right now I have potentially Wednesday, May 24th for our first meeting next year. Committee members, do you have any comments on May 24th? Does that work for everyone? Because it's set in stone. No, it's not set in stone. But yes, we can start at least getting our logistics and letting, reserving the room and everything. Okay, I don't see any hands up or anything. So for the October date, we're going to keep it really the same and be, except it's a Wednesday, October 11th. So exactly 1 year away. That might work actually one more year too. It'll be a Thursday, right? It'll work one more time. Okay, so we have May 24th and October 11th. We'll do our best to get that up onto our website as soon as we can so that it's all out there for all of us to remember. We can ask for any final comments from the public or from the committees before we adjourn. We'll open up public comment one more time just for the committee meeting dates.
All right, and the Q&A panel is now available. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. I want to thank everybody for being here, whether you are participatory or not. I appreciate everyone being here, being online, supporting the Bureau, and getting us this information out there. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. We can end the meeting. Meeting's adjourned. Bye-bye. Bye, Jolena.
Bye.
Okay.